Hey there, beloved Ascension pioneers, and welcome to another one of my Ascension updates. I'm doing it again in nature because we had sort of like cloudy, gloomy weather for a few days, and it's been in real alignment with my personal body integration. And a lot of us have been going through this wave of, being able to hold more light on this new level and preparing also with the Cardinal Grand Cross alignment in April. A lot of us are also feeling that energy. I don't have so much voice today because probably I've been in bed for a while now and yesterday all day. So I hope my voice comes through in a normal way. And just, when a couple of days you're just more in silence and you don't speak so much, you literally notice the changes in your voice. And it just takes a while, for all of your energy to get back in a new way. So if you're noticing any changes, this is what it is. So I want to talk about the recent changes in our multidimensionality and in our aspects that are new, that are expanded in how we actually wear and experience and express our multidimensionality. I want to talk about the forms of higher dimensional existence, which are beyond just the words that we speak, that we write, as a written word. I want to talk about light language and art. And I want to talk about where this all comes from and why this is so much important now. The weather is kind of mixed, so there's, when it gets windy, it gets cold. When it's sunny, it's really hot. So, yeah, it's typical April weather, they say. April shift. In April, there's a mix of everything. And this is what I feel. This is what this month is, not just energetically, not just physically, but energetically also. It's expressing for us. And this is something that really goes in alignment with what a lot of people are saying now about the shift, about the alignment. Everybody's saying if you want to change in your direction, if you want something different on your soul path, now's the time to make that change. And people talk about the new paradigm coming in and all these things, but I like to talk about this more on a deeper note as to what's really happening for those of us who are sharing within a higher frequency frame that is more like a setting stone for the new and a new higher form. So today I'm wearing this charm bracelet that I created yesterday, and it's supposed to anchor this 12 rays of creation, so 12 colors of creation aspect, because you have 12, from the crystalline, you have from the red to the white, all this spectrum. And I've been writing about this yesterday. I've been writing about soul integration and different soul personalities and how this is perceived. So this is also an important part of this. If you're interested, go to my webpage, read the article. It's called 12 Colors of Creation. It's also shared on my Facebook page. But today, I want to focus more about these higher aspects of our expression and uniqueness and things that are just, maybe to us we feel like, we don't have always the higher understanding why we're being guided in a new way now. But this is what Spirit is showing me to emphasize. And maybe if in the end that I'll feel guided to do some of the updates about what I was already writing in the article, then I'll do so as well. But I want to share about, firstly, the higher dimensional forms of expression, which have to do with everything coming from the aspect of sound, color, tone, which is the first kind of like experience of vibration of how it's coming through in a higher dimensional form. That each dimension has its own unique divine set of principles. So when we shift to that dimensional perception, we shift in how we wish to express ourselves. So because a lot of us are tuning into the fifth density and further on, beyond, a lot of us are now starting to engage in processes that develop and require us to be more active in different ways. They're not just, through talking and speaking and writing, which is more like this, I think they call this the Mercury communication aspect, which is the denser communication in form. But this is more like the Uranian expression, the higher, the higher aspects. Of course, it has to deal with our Piscean nature as well, and with the Neptune. But the Neptune kind of correlation to that, it's more like how just we receive. And then Uranus is the higher aspect of how we then, talking about aspects and archetypes here, don't mistake me for anything else. I'm not talking about astrology. And it's how we express in higher form. So for me, how I'm being shown, this is art, and I've been talking about this before, in my video about the going into the unknown, creating with things in a different way. So I've been talking to one of my friends recently, and she said to me, well, you're like a Tinkerbell. You create out of nothing. You just have a minimum of things and resources, and you just create. And I do this with my stone art and with my paintings and with a lot of the things that I draw inspiration from nature. And all of my art is not just, art as in physical. It's how some people who are not open to that aspect of vibration, incoming vibration, they don't feel it. But actually, it's how I put my messages out there that's not just written or spoken form. Because that's linear, that is more linear. This is more higher aspect of expressing ourselves. And the same goes for the light language, which I'll also be talking about. So when you engage in art, in any form of art that has to deal with you channeling aspects of, source of divine principles through the form of, they come to you through art, through music, or like I said, through light language, which actually comes in sequences of light encoded information. So it comes in light packages. While when you talk sentences, it's very linear, it's more denser form. So for an example, why I'm doing now more art and more painting and telling my story of creation this way, and doing my volunteer work of service this way than just sharing with my notes and my articles or the videos. Sometimes I'm not always, expressing myself so linearly. Some people have a gift of talking in linear terms. They can state a perfect sentence or a perfect story from A to Z without making any mistakes because they're very linear, they're very structured. For me, I jump from one subject to another a lot because for me, that's not so much my main gift. But when I'm doing art, I'm actually realizing I can be so focused, so present. I know exactly, what to put on, what comes through, what frequency, what color, what move to make. It's very natural. So I've just finished making my magical elven tree of life yesterday, and I just knew, through every sequence, how I was guided, what to put, what to anchor through that certain structure. It's very multidimensional, and this is how we're actually ushering in the fifth density and beyond in this realm. So we're opening up to that, we're tuning into it, and then we're channeling through our own bodies and physical temples. But that means that our bodies need to be able to hold that much light. And the reason why a lot of us have been having these integrations and cleansing and detox for a few periods of time, in a year maybe you'll have that. It depends on what kind of timeline and what kind of purpose you're actually flowing through. But for me, it comes sometimes through these sequences, like light packages. And it's for me to prepare to be able to hold even more light. So this is, now it's going to be this intense time when there's going to be a lot of people awakening, a lot of breakthroughs, and a lot of us, volunteer souls, needed to be even more flexible in how much light we can carry in our physical temples. This is important. So we had these body integration periods when we needed to walk through. So I mentioned a bit about art and how frequency comes in this way. So when people look at an art piece that's channeled, so that means that it works through divine principles and the aspects of, just tuning into, and then some kind of form, translating that into the language of the divine in this density, which, for example, is a form of art. And it's different when you're looking at it, or when you're doing the art, you're getting information a different way than when you're reading an article or watching television or a video. So it's a very different way that we receive. So the same way that I channel differently when I do art than if I just write, the same way. It's more natural. It's less I wouldn't say that's less complex, it's just different. People like to categorize things. It's not that way. It's just different things. It's just different way of density. That's all it is. It's not better, worse, anything like that. It's just different amount of structure in a different way. Kind of like if you imagine a molecule, and molecules being, just being received in a different way. And those who are doing this now, we're opening and channeling a new way, and then we're also opening the pathway to sharing that in a new way, and those who are opening up to that are also then receiving in a different way. So we need to tune in and receive, in a new level, in a new form, and that's what's important here. So the way that we have received before, it shouldn't be an obstacle to us anymore, in a way that we think we're supposed to receive this way because we're used to receiving this way. And now it's changing. A lot of times we ask ourselves, maybe when we make such a conscious, sometimes even unconscious, but it's huge shift, and we say, gosh, it really changed so much, but I really don't know what does it serve, because when you speak, when you address in that way, maybe it has more structure, so you see the results in a certain way. Through art, it's more subtle, and people who are more open to it will feel it, but not everybody will. Maybe it's going to be more an unconscious emanation of light and sharing of that light. But we need to become receptive to those finer, refined levels as well. And this is what's important. This is what's happening. Art and light language. This is actually, it's how, as a perfected human race, we were first created. And this has to do a lot with when you come into the understanding of how creation was expanding outwards and how worlds were being created. In this universe system, it all began in the constellation of Lyra. And during the time of Orion Wars, there were beings that were evolving with the light that actually went to the Pleiades constellation system. And that's where a lot of the art, the dancing, the music, everything actually has origin there. It was brought to the lower density systems after, because these were younger systems, less developed. So everything that you have as a gift, everything comes from there. And a lot of us, when we have it like channeled, not learned, we actually have it as a direct link remembrance to that parallel reality. If you would understand more on that level, which is not so linear, again, it's like a parallel reality you're tuning into. That was just beautifully described in one of the books that I was reading from Dolores, which I was mentioning to you before. And there's just a beautiful explanation how this is a simultaneous reality happening, especially for those of us who are actually coming here from a different system. And these bodies that we have here that we hold are temporary. We don't go from one incarnation cycle on Earth to the next one. We just come and go as we need to at these certain important pivotal times. So we're now starting to understand this more, and we're opening up to a wider range of how we work with frequency. So let's move on to the light language now. A few days ago, when I finished painting my stones, and there was this elven couple I did, I was having some more additional time because I was, integrating and spending more time in bed, and I said, okay, I'll meditate a bit. And my entire wish for a while now has been to remember, my original light language. And a while ago, I stumbled upon the reverse speech technology when you record your speech, and then what you hear in reversal can be very interesting. But everything, when I did that, in the free program that you can all use, it's called Audacity. And everything that I've heard didn't seem like a physical language. It's linear. It felt like, what is this? It's certain words that I recognized. I felt them. I felt, those shivers of remembrance. And I felt this is more like a light language. And ever since, I've been really intrigued to remembering this. And it's not like, a lot of people say I speak a certain light language, or they channel it, or they speak a certain language. Every dimension, every layer, every form of existence has its own unique language as it's specific to that realm and to that density. But everything actually comes from one language, the first language of creation. So it's all kind of interconnected and interlinked in that. But there's another factor here, because at the same time, when I expressed this online, somebody said to me, well, what you do is you make an intent and you open your mouth and you start speaking it, but it's not as simple as that. Why? It's because a lot of people still have a huge influence of their mind filters. So what I can do is, if I just start speaking like that, I can start making words up and create like this gibberish, and I say, well, this is my light language, and a lot of people also do that. But my devotion is not doing that. It has nothing to do with that. It has to be very specific, and it only comes to us when we're really ready, for how much we're ready, and how much the collective is ready, and that's what we will receive. Spirit guidance always works this way. And I had a divine companion telling me this week that they often dream about me as being a guide and a pillar, and that I'm always so solid in my dreams that I will never give them more than they need at that time. And this is how spirit guidance works. It's always what we need in the current time of our divine remembrance and soul expansion. So with the light language, I wanted it to be pure, to be really coming from my soul awareness and my remembrance, because I didn't want to said, okay, this is what I want. It's my ego. It wants to speak that. I said, I desire, if it's for the, for the collective good, and if I can use it to further my service. Because this is how I'll emanate more light. It won't be so linear. And all I did was make that intent. And the first thing when I started meditating with that, just feeling, just without any expectation to receive anything, there were just words coming through, 3 specific words, and I didn't even want to word them out. I was like, why is it so heavy to word them out? I said, no, I don't want to. I don't want it to be something fake. I don't want it to just be something with the mind. But it was very repetitive. It's the same way that I receive spirit guidance, when I do that. And I said, okay, I'll just word it out, whatever comes out. And I worded it out, and it became really strong. It became really intense, and then I did it again and again, and I felt more empowered in it, like more confident in it. Because, it's like taking that first step. It's like baby step, and then you expand further and further. This is how you practice with that, and this is how you bring soul awareness in the body. But not like trying to force it to happen, through the mind and just making things up. But that which will come is something really solid, something really repetitive, not just me saying blah, 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 oh, this is my light language now. Nothing like that. So the words that I heard were Estea dar illumine. And I kept repeating them. And I knew the meaning. I said, I knew that it means something, because I remember the word Eldar from Lord of the Rings, because I watched the movies, but I didn't read the book. But I remembered it means something from there. I went to Wikipedia, I googled it, I was like, oh, naturally, it means the elven race. It means the elves. That's how they were called by one of the Valars, and those were actually the elves that heard the summoning, so those who went with them and were creating within the aspect of light. So they formed many groups and fragments, but it was basically about those who've heard the summoning, so those who heard the call, the higher calling. And I call this the volunteer souls, whatever you may wish to call it, doesn't matter. So it just came really strongly, and I knew that it means, and Spirit showed me, it means you are an elven being from the realms of illuminated truth, illuminate. So I then, just attuned my consciousness to receiving a few more, and I started making this journal like, okay, what are the words that came through now that I have so far? And these are only the ones that really come in repetitively. And this is how I feel it's working within the now. It's receiving in the now. It's not like, it's wishful thinking. I open my mouth, I start speaking gibberish. But there's certain things that I heard, that I felt, that I also heard in the recording of the reverse speech. When you record yourself, and then in the program you reverse the speech, and you hear some things. You hear a certain. It's not like your mind recognizes it as you recognize spoken or written language. It triggers a certain awareness and feelings inside of you, and just it to be right. It to be something that makes you feel very. It's not nostalgic even. It's just a divine remembrance which you feel. Sometimes you get tears, sometimes you get goosebumps, sometimes you just get shivers. And it's like a form that comes, like I said, in light packages. You won't always know how to translate it word by word. It's not even how it is. Light language means that there's a certain package of something there encoded, and you bring it through an aspect that it's more natural to you than the words that we have learned. I speak 2 languages basically, the most, which is English and my own native tongue, Slovene. So you have to think sometimes, what's the translation from this one to that one? Sometimes there even isn't any, because there isn't always a direct translation from one to the other. Oh, there it goes, April. Cold again. Oh gosh, so this is how it is. Now I got stuff on my... This is nature. This is how it is. This is how it is if you live with me, and you have something that is designed in a way to glue things on it. It's interesting. Yeah, I'll just be my natural self. So it's not like you translated word by word. It emanates and it holds certain amounts of information. And that's why different people are speaking different languages. But until now, when people have been, sharing in their workings of light, it didn't really resonate with anything. And not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but it wasn't mine. It didn't come from me. It didn't come through my own soul awareness. So it didn't bring me any sense of upliftment. But when I watched the latest part of Hobbit, and when the elven being was healing one dwarf being, and she was speaking certain words of the elvish language, I just immediately had those shivers and those goosebumps, and I really, really recognized it because it was so channeled. It was so well put into the structure of what it represented, and it really vibrated with my soul. So a lot of people are still maybe not so open to that. And because it has to deal with the aspect of us that doesn't deal with rational mind. There's also something important here to share, is that the elven consciousness, the true language, how it comes through, it's not so much in, I want to make a sentence, like I received, but it's not the basic. It's not how it mainly comes, because a lot of times I was, there's mount in the back somewhere, there's mountain rivers, and a lot of times I sit there and just started singing. And these melodies and everything just came through as it did at that time. And after I finished that sentence, I also felt to start singing. And I started singing. I didn't even expect what word will come out of me. I just did. It came from the heart. And so I knew. And it's the same way that is shared in the writings of the Silmarillion and Lord of the Rings, that the elves, and they were actually singing, but they were actually they learned that as to how Valar sang, those who were the primal aspects of creation. So it really comes more through what is natural. Sometimes you just start singing. It's more natural than I have to word out a sentence in this way. So when I use my sharing in a way through articles and videos, I do it because most people still receive this way. But I feel we're all moving into a way that we share through something that's more natural to us, and this will continue to shift. So there's going to be, maybe at the beginning you were more writing, more sharing, more teaching, more structure, and then you're moving to less structure, more light, more organic, more in tune with your higher inner being. So this is what's happening now. So it's just about, certain lesser forms, more dense forms of expression, and those of higher form. So these are, like I said, the written word, the spoken word, it's more linear, and this is more multidimensional. And maybe, one time you feel one aspect coming through, and another time you feel one aspect, you're channeling another aspect, and it's all good. And we're also getting more telepathic. The more we tune into doing things this way, the more telepathic we are. I'll give you one funny example, and this is happening at the beginning with those people who you really have a heart connection to, because physical ascension happens through the heart. This is the magenta gateway that I often mention, the heart gateway, that is the basics of physical ascension. And first you will begin to feel it with the people you have real heart connection to. Like, for example, for me, that's my mom. And a lot of times we just read each other's minds. We say, how do you know this? Well, I don't know. It's just what's in your field, I feel it, and it's not linear. You just feel what they're thinking, and it becomes a literal translation of the vision you are also receiving. So I think we were watching, maybe we were watching the Hobbit movie. And it's something I've said, like, this actor reminds me so much of somebody, but I can't word it out. And she said, I know who, but I don't remember his name. And immediately I get the name, and she says, this guy. She finally remembers. I'm like, I knew you were gonna say that because I got the same guidance. I just knew I knew you meant him. And we started laughing, and because we knew this is another example of those when you receive, when you tune into the same and you feel them and they feel you, and you're getting more telepathic. But telepathy doesn't just come through this throat chakra system. It comes through, like I've explained many times, it's the crown levels opening up to the higher chakra system, but then you got to connect up with the higher heart here. So it's not actually tuned into just the psychic gift that we're referring to, that we get. It's again, it's a connection of all. It's not just that one gift opens up and now we're working on this chakra, and now we're working being expanded in all 12 colors of creation and your multidimensional self. And the rainbow art that I'm doing, it's like everything I'm doing now is rainbow. I just don't know, it's how I'm choosing to tune into that at this time. But it has to deal with all aspects combined as one. So this gets me to a topic of the merging of soul personalities that I've shared also in the video. A lot of people, they still like to base themselves as a certain personality type. And when you get to this level, you will really realize that through this higher aspect of creation, you are everything, but at the same time, you know, all these personalities that your soul has created during those journeys and experiences, but at the same time, you're also hormones and you're also spirit. But what is the important aspect that I shared in the article is about something that I read in the books from Dolores, because she was talking about multi-personality disorders, you know, that people have. And when they have regression done on them, which is not always done through proper work, like she does things in a different level, sometimes they get these different aspects bleeding through, and she said it's not really good for them, because the individual will be confused enough already, and they're going to be then even more confused. And what's happening is when you integrate your soul, when you come into wholeness, no part of you will be like in exhalation, like this part of me, I can't, you know, tune into it, it will be too much. When you're in soul wholeness, you can experience all those parts, all those realities, all those experiences as one here in you, in your center. And you'll just be living with them, and what will be coming through will always be coming through in the now. All the divine potential already exists in the now. So even in her books, you know, the superconscious always says past lives are no longer important, focuses on the now. And this is what's it. So a lot of people who are still trying to dig deep, you know, through their past lives, and I was this, I was that, they're still not really fully in their soul wholeness. So what we're doing now, we're creating from all those experiences, you know, when a soul starts walking on the journey of physical ascension, they just culminate in all of them and start walking the brand new cycle. I've talked about this a long time before, because I received this vision, you know, before going to sleep. It was like dozing off in the balcony, and I talked about this before. It's like it came through me like all those versions, all those timelines, everything coming and culminating, and then poof, a new set of reality begins. And this is what our journey of physical ascension is about. So I won't be talking about any dates as usual. You know, everybody talks about these dates and alignments from cardinal cross. I want to mention that it's important from the aspect of understanding what intensity means. Everybody says it's intense, it's intense. Well, I even use this word. But intensity means that when something starts culminating to the peak of its experience, it's ready to be used and rebirthed into something new. So if we're going to be feeling lots of intensity, it will mean that we need to know how to work with that intensity, how to use it, how to utilize it, how to channel it forth into something new and building new creations and new inventions. You know, we need to be very innovative at this time. Also, I want to mention something at the end, that I was watching Tom, the astrologer, 2 days ago, and he was talking about all these 12-folded signs of the zodiac, and how in our journey and in our daily life it's very important to be balanced in all of this. So for example, every day you should take 1/12 of each, and each hour do that. And for example, you know, each archetype, each sign of the zodiac, which is an archetype, you know, of a certain essence, of the wholeness, you do that for each hour. You understand what it means, you understand the contribution to the whole, and then you do that for an hour. But again, I still felt that it's too linear approach. I don't feel like there's anything wrong to it, but you see, our multidimensionality, you can't be squished. It's not about remembering it and then again trying to rationalize it and putting it into the linear perspective, because that's not multidimensionality at all. It needs to be its own experience, a new one, not something we've already known and say, okay, this is multidimensionality, let's squeeze it in this tiny frame. This is not what it's about. So if you think that getting into the root of each of those 12 principles and then doing that for an hour a day, again, this is scheduled and planned. Again, you think in terms of timetables and you're limiting yourself. What if you maybe want to do something no more than an hour? You know, it's just we can't do that to ourselves anymore. We're way beyond it. It comes, inspiration and divine potential will come through the now. When you'll be inspired to do something, this is what you're meant to create. And creating balance, of course, doing each of everything, but doesn't mean that it comes through hours. You know, maybe in 1 hour you're already, when you're doing something. For example, let's say I'm painting. But let's say that maybe when I'm painting, I'm not just expressing Pisces nature and the creativity and the higher art. Maybe I'm also expressing something else, you know? So it's about soul essences. It's not about what I'm channeling through a certain hour, a certain, you know, date or whatever. So it's a higher aspect to it, I feel, and it always is. So it's learning to integrate the wholeness of the 12-foldedness. I wouldn't say just the zodiac, but the 12 colors of creation, and understanding how we're all of it, but at the same time how we're also unique. and merge that and blend that and walk through these higher forms of expression and creativity. And don't always feel so bogged down if others don't get it the same moment we do. Like, for example, if I do art and nobody would resonate it with what I'm not trying to, it's natural. Let's say it's just natural. But I would be trying too hard if I would saying, okay, people, please get it. Can't you see what I'm doing here? I'm getting the visions, but people who are open on that same level will also, in their own way, through their own uniqueness. But I wouldn't be able to force anybody to feel it that way. If maybe they still resonate more with the written form, that's their way, that's their timeline in this moment. So we shouldn't feel too bogged down or suppressed if we shouldn't be suppressing ourselves, actually, if we don't immediately find somebody who would resonate with what we're bringing now in a new way, in a new form. We just need to keep doing it, because if it's natural, if it fits our now, if it fits our current soul expansion, it's the right thing. It will always be. So yeah, enjoy your own meditations on light languages and the codes of light you're receiving and the art you're doing, creativity you're expressing, everything, because I feel April is really the month to get us going in all of that. And I'm wishing you happy new moon in Aries. It's going to bring through a lot of energy. So if you have some excess energy, put it into something creative, or I don't know, exercise, something like that, because it will flow more, it will be more utilized. Because if we receive so much energy, maybe our body can always take so much at this time. We need to express that, because we're always meant to receive and give at the same time. It's not like it's something different, like the two are not connected. That's where they need to be in synchronized flow all the time. So this is it. If you have any additional questions about anything, you can always contact me. And I had to postpone everything, my custom art orders, because this wave of integration just totally surprised me. So I'm sorry I wasn't able to fulfill that promise, which I said in the previous video. It's just how it is. Sometimes soul has something else in store, and it knows, and it's just the rhythms and cycles of life. So I'm wishing you everything that is expansive, that it's bright, wide open, that emanates your personal freedom and how you'll express your higher form of purpose here now. So thank you for staying tuned, and I'll talk to you soon next time in the next update. Bye-bye. So much love.